Bars and restaurants of Argentina's popular summer resort Mar del Plata are set to partially close amid the pandemic. Zhaparov is poised to win landslide victory in Kyrgyzstan's presidential election. An Indonesian rescue team recovers what is thought to be part of the crashed plane's engine. Hello and welcome to TeleSUR English. I am Estefania Bravo from the headquarters of Quito, Ecuador. This is from the south. Candidates in Ecuador's presidential election set for February 7th held their first debate on Saturday, organized by private media. The debate came amidst a dispute over the possible removal of 4 councillors from the board of the National Electoral Council. Candidates discussed the economy, employment, public health, and public safety. Each person had a minute and a half to present their proposals and an extra minute for rebuttals. Unión por la Esperanza, or UNES candidate Andrés Arauz, who is currently leading voter intention surveys, did not participate. Bars and restaurants of the most popular Argentinian summer resort, Mar del Plata, are set to partially close on Monday, a measure aimed at controlling the spread of COVID-19. The closures happening between 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. are taking place when locals are accustomed to gathering with friends. The Argentine government is working to control gatherings in beach areas as well as clandestine celebrations, popular with young people, taking place non-stop over the past several weekends in various parts of the country.
I've already had it. I respect, but I don't fear it. I'm afraid about my grandparents having it. You have to take care of yourself. I have a daughter and she also had it. She's fine.
During this catastrophic January we're going through, with hotels at 20% occupation, clubs at 30% or 40%, restaurants closing, the new restrictions are leaving us bound, hand and foot. It seems the authorities want us to spend the worst winter of our lives and to have more poverty and unemployment that we already have.
In St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the dome that broke through the crater floor at the La Soufrière volcano on December 27th is continuing to grow and has taken an ellipsoid shape. This was confirmed in a bulletin from the National Emergency Management Organization. A team from the University of the West Indies Seismic Research Center spent Friday preparing equipment for development. The alert level remains at orange as the volcano continues to exude magma and steam on the surface.
We've been in contact with several hoteliers, some who have not opened up their properties as yet, as making those rooms available for them. Certainly we're having to put a contingency plan in place that if we need to help them with medical support, i.e. Using the respiratory center as a backup for them as to how we would potentially do that. And certainly using Huanora Airport as much as possible as another source of getting personnel into St. Vincent. So a lot of communication has been taking place behind the scenes. We're hoping for the best, but we're preparing ourselves for the worst.
Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister and CARICOM Chair Dr. Keith Rowley has been discharged from the hospital after undergoing an angioplasty. According to a statement released by the Office of the Prime Minister, Dr. Rowley was examined by his doctors and declared fit to be discharged. The recently appointed chair of the Caribbean community felt discomfort and was rushed to a private medical facility on Friday. The announcement by Haiti's Electoral Council that elections will take place in 8 months has further complicated an already volatile political situation, prompting condemnation from the organizations across the country. The Electoral Authority has announced that the vote on the controversial constitutional referendum to strengthen the powers of the president will take place on April 25th, while general elections are called for September 19th. Social organizations and opposition parties have rejected the declaration and have called on people to take to the streets. The G-Clear group in particular decried that insecurity in the Caribbean country has been aggravated by this proclamation. Barbados Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley says her government has reached out to Cuba for assistance to control a surge in COVID-19 cases that stemmed from a party on a bus on December 26th. On Friday, the country recorded 39 new COVID-19 cases, pushing the cumulative number of positives to 780, with 385 recoveries and 7 deaths.
We have been in contact with the Cuban government, and we have requested a number of additional doctors and specialists in particular, 2 communicable disease specialists, 2 respiratory disease specialists, 2 intensive care specialists, 2 anesthesiologists, 1 respiratory therapist, and for the lab, we've also requested 4 lab technicians who speak English to be able to assist us in the lab at the Dos Santos lab.
Caribbean countries continue to struggle as nations with large economies rush to acquire COVID-19 vaccines. The Bahamian health minister said his government is working hard to ensure citizens don't get left behind and are immunized within the first 3 months of 2021.
Those countries in the Caribbean who are receiving of COVID-19 vaccines, I think you would realize that they are all British protectorates. They're still a part of the United Kingdom, and a part of the UK's policy is it's distributing vaccines to its territory. So you'd find the Cayman Islands, Turks and Caicos, the British Virgin Islands, those entities receiving vaccines. As I would have said in my statement earlier, the Bahamas government is aggressively seeking to procure vaccines, and we're doing all that we can to ensure that in the first quarter of this year that we'll be able to present a viable vaccine to the Bahamian people.
Let's take a short break now. Don't go away. Welcome back to you from the South. More news now. The World Health Organization has urged rich countries to stop jumping the queue and making bilateral deals for the first wave of COVID-19 vaccines. WHO Director General called on nations that have booked vaccine doses in excess to donate them to the globally shared COVAX facility, which aims to distribute coronavirus jabs equitably around the world. He added that 42 countries have started rolling out their COVID-19 vaccination programs, 36 of them being high-income nations, while the remaining 6 are middle-income states.
At present, 42 countries are rolling out safe and effective COVID-19 vaccines. 36 of these are high-income countries, and 6 are middle-income countries. So there is a clear problem that low and most middle-income countries are not receiving the vaccine yet. Vaccine nationalism hurts us all and is self-defeating. But on the flip side, vaccinating equitably saves lives, stabilizes health systems, and would lead to a truly global economic recovery that stimulates job creation.
China has announced that it's going to vaccinate all of its citizens from COVID-19 for free. Leader of the Vaccine Research and Development Team, Sheng Shongwei, said the government will soon start the public immunization program after purchasing vaccines from local manufacturing enterprises. This comes as COVID-19 cases steadily increase in the north of Hubei province.
Our country will provide free COVID-19 vaccines to all people, which means people do not have to pay a single cent for the vaccine. Enterprises have cost in the research and development, production, storage, and transportation of the vaccines. As a result, enterprises will price the COVID-19 vaccine as a public good based on costs, and the relevant government departments will follow the corresponding procedures and buy from enterprises at relevant prices, and then provide the vaccine free for all.
The United Kingdom has recorded over 3 million coronavirus cases since the illness broke out in the country last year. Health officials said the record was reached after almost 60,000 infections were confirmed in the last 24 hours. 1,035 fatalities have also been registered, pushing the death toll to over 80,000. The UK recently reintroduced strict measures, sending the country into virtual lockdown to try to curb the spread of the new COVID-19 variant. Mosques and schools in the Gaza Strip have reopened following sanitary measures. Palestinian youths have returned to school, while Muslim worshippers prayed at the mosque in Gaza City after a decision by the Strip's Hamas Islamist rulers to allow prayer in mosque from Sunday to Thursday. Precautionary measures were put in place, with worshippers having to wear a face mask and bringing their own prayer mats and maintaining social distancing. However, Hamas's Interior Ministry has said that mosques will remain closed on Fridays and Saturdays, when a full lockdown across the Palestinian enclave will remain in place.
After more than a month of closing the mosques due to the coronavirus pandemic, it was decided today to reopen them. We also took some sanitary measures, including wearing the protective mask, not shaking hands, and keeping a social distance of not less than 2 meters between each worshippers.
Ethiopian refugees who fled conflict in the Tigray region have finally settled at a new camp in Sudan. The settlement was established by the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees at the Tenedba camp in Mafasa, located in the east of the country. The UN Refugee Agency said it is still receiving new migrants, as the Sudanese government has kept its borders open to allow free movement for asylum seekers.
We arrived here yesterday, after 2 months of displacement. We found the situation better here. Since we arrived, we found a cooked food and we ate. We stood in line for a quarter of an hour only, and we received our tent and settled in. The people who arrived before us have received everything: lights, solar panels, and donations.
Let's take one last short break now. Don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. More news now. Preliminary result in Kyrgyzstan's presidential election has seen Zhaparov win in a landslide. Kyrgyzstan's Central Election Commission has said Zhaparov has won 39% of the votes according to preliminary results. Voters also approved a constitutional change to give the presidency more power. The election followed the ousting of the previous president, Sooronbay Jeenbekov, in October, whose government was accused of rigging parliamentary elections. Zhaparov, who was imprisoned in 2017 on conviction of involvement in the kidnapping of a regional governor, spearheaded Jeenbekov's removal from office.
The first thing I'd like to note is that the whole voting process took place in a calm, peaceful, and friendly environment. At each polling station we visited, we encountered our colleagues, both international and domestic observers.
There were fewer voters in the presidential election because voters had the option of taking 2 ballots. Some only came to vote for the referendum and chose not to vote for president, which is the right of each citizen.
Parliamentary elections have kicked off in Kazakhstan. The ruling party expected to score a big win, with no major opposition groups running in the vote. The nationwide Social Democratic Party, the main opposition party in the country, is boycotting the vote. Another opposition movement, the Democratic Party, failed to secure official registration ahead of the vote. The elections will decide 98 of the 107 seats in the lower house. 9 other seats will be separately elected by the Assembly of People of Kazakhstan, a political body designed to represent ethnic minorities in the country. In an attempt to modernize the system, President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev has overseen the introduction of quotas for women and under the 20s in political parties' candidates lists.
I think this election must become a step forward in the development of our democracy. Every election is a serious test of our civic maturity. I sincerely hope that there will be various parties in our parliament. The authorities have done everything necessary to hold a fair election. All candidates have been provided with equal opportunities.
An Indonesian rescue team has recovered what is thought to be part of the engine of a Sriwijaya airplane, which came down on Saturday shortly after takeoff from Jakarta. Parts of the wreckage of the Boeing 737-500 were found at a depth of 23 meters in the Java Sea. It's still unclear what brought down the flight, which had 62 people on board, including 7 children and 3 babies. There was no sign of survivors. Fishermen in the area reported hearing an explosion at around 2:30 p.m. on Saturday. This is the second fatal plane crash to occur in the country's airspace in 2 years. In October of 2018, 189 people were killed when a Lion Air Boeing 737 MAX jet crashed near the capital, Jakarta. And still in Indonesia, at least 11 people have been killed, including a 6-year-old boy, and dozens more remain missing after deadly landslides hit the country's West Java province. Torrential rains triggered the disaster on Saturday evening in the town of Sumedang, where a second landslide buried residents and a rescue team that had been searching for the initial victims. Authorities continue to look for survivors. Seychelles has started the COVID-19 vaccination program after receiving 50,000 doses of a Chinese vaccine. The archipelago nation has become one of the first African countries to begin vaccinating its population against the coronavirus. Seychelles received a donation of 50,000 doses of a vaccine made by the Chinese pharma giant Sinopharm. The campaign will start with the country's leaders, and health workers will start getting their doses on Monday.
I'm going to be the first person receiving the vaccine. And I want this to be an example for all Seychellois to show that the vaccine is safe and that it will give us another tool in our arsenal for victory.
Thousands of people in England aged 80 and older have received invitations to get their coronavirus vaccine, officials said on Sunday, as Britain ramps up its national vaccination program. More than 600,000 invitations are due to arrive at doorsteps across England this week, asking people to sign up for jabs at new mass vaccination centres which have been set up across the country. The 7 new large-scale immunization centres join around 1,000 other sites at hospitals, general practitioners, clinics, and some pharmacies. The government says so far more than 1.2 million people have been given a first dose of the vaccine, and officials plan to vaccinate around 15 million people by the middle of February.
Absolutely, vitally important. It's the way that we'll hopefully be able to get through the different numbers. So, as I've already said, the GP surgeries and the acute hubs have already started this fantastic work. But really, to be able to get through the numbers and really start going through those different cohorts and getting as many people as vaccinated as possible, we need more and more sites and really be able to get that throughput.
18 people have been arrested in Denmark after demonstrations against the country's coronavirus restrictions turned violent. Several hundred people assembled for illegally registered protests in the town hall square in central Copenhagen. However, police in riot gear were captured in videos posted online and via television broadcasts, clashing with demonstrators who lit fireworks and threw bottles. The country has been in a partial lockdown since mid-December, with a tightening of measures announced on Tuesday to stop a surge of the recently discovered COVID-19 variants believed to spread faster. Snowstorms across much of Spain have left 4 people dead and has caused chaos in the country. On Friday, Madrid experienced its heaviest snowfall since 1971 after what the weather agency described as exceptional and most likely historic conditions caused by Storm Filomena. Madrid's Barajas airport was shut down with traffic disrupted on nearly 400 roads. The Renfe rail network said all trains to and from Madrid have also been cancelled. And the Spanish government has announced that more than 700 major routes are still impassable across the country after Saturday's snowstorm, the worst the country has seen in decades.
At present, 702 roads are still affected by the heavy snowfalls of the last few hours. 171 are cut off from traffic, 2 of them belonging to the main road network of Girona and Toledo.
As regards the state of the network and rail services, as you know, yesterday afternoon, the rail network extended the suspension of the services to and from Madrid for both high-speed and long and medium-distance trains.
And with that story, we've come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also be sure to follow us on social media. We are on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram as well. For TeleSUR English, I am Estefania Bravo. See you next time.